One of the top quarterbacks in the 2024 class is making waves in his recruitment and standing out for things, well, beyond just his arm. So for more on this story, let's welcome in our friend, Brandon Marcello. Brandon, you recently flew to Georgia to sit down with the 2024 four-star quarterback. He is the number 7 QB in the class, Air Noland, and he will make his commitment on Saturday. There is a lot in your conversation, but I want to know first, just what stood out to you about the person, away from the football field?
The kid's incredibly smart. I thought I was talking to a 35-year-old man when I was sitting in his living room for about 90 minutes. His mom was sitting across from him, just kind of like marveling at him, like, that's my boy. This guy is so well thought out. And in speaking to him, I think I heard him say the word maybe once in all of his answers and in casual conversation. This guy knows what he wants in life. He's very curious. He has questions about everything, asks questions to everybody. His mom joked to me once that he'll see someone spill something on the floor and he'll watch someone clean it up and he'll ask questions about how they're cleaning up the spill, so he can make notes of his own about how to properly maybe clean up a spill of his own later someday in his life. This guy's literally a sponge, and it transfers over to the football field, as you're seeing now with this film. This guy has an amazing release, great touch, super athletic, and he's got the brain and the mindset of someone who is ready to go into a program and lead right away. I can't wait to hear the news up Saturday, but more importantly, if he's acting the way he is now with this emotional maturity, I can't imagine what he's going to be like in a year or two once he gets on a college campus.
In your story, Brandon, you wrote that both Jimbo Fisher and Nick Saban were wowed by Air Noland's attention to detail. And obviously he goes through the process a little bit differently than maybe the common recruit. What stood out to you in your conversations with him about him as a player?
Yeah, in the digital age, he's a little analog. He likes to take a notebook with him everywhere he goes and keeps notes and draws up X's and O's. And this is something that was instilled in him by his father, Prentice Noland, in saying to him, listen, I don't want you to go into a meeting without your notebook. And his former offensive coordinator, Enrico Hines at Langston Hughes there in Georgia, is the same way. I want you to take notes everywhere you go about everything going on with football. And he carries it within the rooms. But also, this is a kid, as I can tell you from personal experience, he looks you straight in the eye, never deviates, never breaks that concentration, and also asks questions and peppers these coaches with question after question after question. Because one, he's very interested in his own future and what that school can do for him, but also what makes those coaches tick and what makes them happy, what makes them mad, and also just how about they go about their daily business. And Jimbo Fisher left his meeting with Air Noland just absolutely blown away by it. Air Noland's father told me that blew him away to hear that, and then heard the same thing about the time that he first met Nick Saban, about how impressed he was by just the amount of questions and the thoroughness Air Noland it really approaches this recruiting process.
Wow, well, I'm inspired, but I got a million more questions for you. This kid sounds incredibly interesting. Such a cool opportunity for you to sit down and talk to him and really dig into who he is. I mean, there's a lot of background into just how Air was raised in this piece. I mean, how he began training with his father when he was 3 years old, and just the way that he was pushed really from an early age. So how much do you think his upbringing helped shape him as an athlete?
Oh, incredibly well. His mother and father, who are no longer together though, but maintain a strong relationship, have absolutely formed this boy into the man he is today. He's very much like a homebody. He loves hanging around his family, stays home and just hangs out with everybody. But I was told he's always on the phone texting other teammates, recruits, coaches, and again, asking them questions about things, of course, because he's, as he said, he's curious. He says, I want to know everything in life because who knows when I might need an answer for something, whether it's football or not. And this is a guy that, as you said, started training when he was 3 years old. His father was pushing him through all these drills. He was snapping the football to him 250 times a day when he was just a youngster before he even got into pre-K. And his mom told me, he says, I used to stand outside and cry. Why are you doing this to my baby? And she sits back now and laughs at it and says, well, look at us now. Look where he is now and the man he has become. This guy had a lot of discipline in his life. And the one morning when Air Noland's father woke up and saw that his sons was doing push-ups all by himself without being told to do so when he was about 7 or 8 years old, he realized that his boy was starting to grow up, and he kind of had that commitment to become a great athlete. And of course, your formative years and your athletic years, you don't really start hitting that till you get in your teenage years. But he had that mindset already instilled in him, and he's carrying that over now and today in the high school.
He's got the great mindset. He's got the great name. And obviously, he's got a great trait, which is pretty unique is in that he's a left-handed quarterback. He's been praised as perhaps the best lefty since Tua Tagovailoa. Obviously, Nick Saban coached at Alabama. How do you think Air Noland is handling those big expectations?
Well, yeah, our scouting director, Andrew Ivins, told me that he's probably got the most compact and quick release in this entire recruiting class of 2024. And you can see it on film. This guy has incredible accuracy downfield. And he started his high school career wanting to do nothing but sling it down the field. And his offensive coordinator, Andrico Hines, had to sit him down and go, listen, we got to look across the field. We got to go through our progressions. You need to make this more of a mental game. You've got all the talent in the world, but you got to become like the Tom Brady's or the Aaron Rodgers and dissect everything. And the amazing progress he's made just in 2 years with that has blown his coaches away. And Drico Hines, who played quarterback in the AFL and also was a quarterback at Middle Tennessee State and has coached some great players himself on the high school level, says this guy is a generational talent and is going to be a household name soon. But when you talk to Air Noland about all of that and all the attention he's getting, it doesn't seem to affect him. In fact, he talked more to me about the pieces he's got coming back as a senior at Langston Hughes High School as they try to repeat as state champions on the Class 6A level there in Georgia. This kid's really going on it by kind of a day-by-day basis, which sounds cliche, but that's really how these kids try to attack it these days. And his father has been preaching that to him since he was in middle school. Remember, this guy, like a lot of big-time prospects, in 8th grade, it's when he got his first scholarship offer back from Kentucky. And he was telling him then, and he still tells him this every day, this is going to be a 3-step process for us from a big picture view. There's middle school, there's high school, and then we'll worry about college. We're not talking about what you're going to look like in an offense in college right now. I want you to figure out what you got to do on the football field as a senior at Langston Hughes.
Well, now that we know the person and the athlete, thanks to your research, we will now soon know where he is headed to play his college ball. Based on your conversation, this whole live in the moment and figuring out the rest, you do have to be a little forward thinking here. So how close is he to making a decision that ultimately will end his recruitment?
Yeah, he told me in mid-March that he had a pretty good idea of where he was going to go. And at that time, he was about to whittle it down to 7 schools. He had just come off visits to Arkansas and Clemson. And from being around the family, they really enjoyed that visit to Clemson. But I'm going to tell you right now, he gave me no hints toward where he's going and which way he's leaning right now. I do know this. The Ohio State coaching staff feels really good about things. Miami's been on him for quite some time. He just left Ohio State and got that offer that everybody's been kind of awaiting to see for them to finally do when they got to see him in person. This is going to be an interesting decision for him on Saturday, but the fact that he was in mid-March saying, hey, I'm pretty certain of where I'm going. This kid, again, details. The notes he takes, he knows what he wants. He knows what he wants to do. And I think sitting around thinking that he's got to wait for an offer, he knew an offer was coming from Ohio State. He knew offers were coming other schools. It's going to be so interesting to see what school he picks. But I think right now, when I'm sitting here right now, if I'm Ohio State, if I'm Clemson, and if I'm Alabama, I feel like I'm in a very good spot right now. And again, I just want to know this kid more as a person. And I'm glad I did, because I know too often these kids, we're always poking and prodding going, so how was the visit? What's going on? And I think he's had a very good head on his shoulders for a long time and has done his research, and he knows where he's going to go, and he's going to make that announcement Saturday.
Exciting. Apparently he's coming for all of our jobs too. I mean, you're describing a great journalist, somebody that's really inquisitive, is detail-oriented, writes in a notebook, never says I mean, so we're all out of a job. Let's hope he plays football for a very long time so we get to continue to do this. Brandon, thank you so much. Thank you for the piece. If you want to go read it, there's a lot of great nuggets in there. You can check it out on 247sports.com. Based on what I'm seeing in the chat right now, it seems like a lot of people just want to know where the name Air came from. That's also in the piece, so be sure to check that out online.